Okay. Okay. My name is Nancy. I am married and have one son who lives in Denver. He's over 30 years old. And we live on a lake in North Carolina, north of Charlotte. And we had careers in California for over 30 years, and we just needed an adventure. So here we are. Okay. After I retired, my husband and I were really hitting the hiking trails hard, and I noticed that I would have issues with my heart for hours after we'd complete a hike. So at a very early age, I got diagnosed with something called atrial fibrillation, or AFib. I was on a kind of a triple therapy of prednisone, a second drug for inflammation called colchicine, and then the third one was to be a candidate for a drug that had recently gotten FDA approval. Rilonacept, the name of this recently approved FDA drug for the treatment of pericarditis, and I believe it's the only drug approved for the treatment of pericarditis. You had to apply for it, be a candidate for it, and get approval. I didn't know much about the drug, so immediately you do some research, and it had an amazing success rate on the clinical trial, like numbers that you typically don't see. At the time that the clinical trial was going on for rilonacept, the pandemic occurred, and I definitely know with this clinical trial called Rhapsody, it slowed down dramatically because the patients in the trial could no longer go to the hospital at whatever increment of time to get the data necessary for the FDA approval. So the clinical trial either completely stopped or was dramatically slowed down. The Hawthorne Effect came in and completed the data needed for the Rhapsody trial because you went to the patient's residences as opposed to them having to come to the hospitals. What really brought it so close and personal to me is that I was able to get a drug that had just gotten FDA approval 3 months or maybe 5 months earlier, and that if it hadn't been for the Hawthorne Effect business model and technology and data collection processes, that I still might not be able to be on it. At the lake, we enjoy any water activity, boating, jet skiing, stand-up paddleboarding, and we are big-time outdoor bike riders. I would say our travel is probably greater than a quarter of our time, and the weather here is really, really nice most months of the year, so the boating is all summer long, and the biking you can pretty much do with the exception of a few months in the winter. My husband and I used to do a lot of hiking when we lived in California, and I haven't been able to get back to that quite yet, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I might not be able to get to that 10,000 foot peak that I did at Lake Tahoe a few years ago, but I'll try. I'll keep trying. I think my advice to anyone now who is asked to be in a clinical trial is, by all means, participate, even if it takes more effort than you want to give it. There's, besides a potential individual benefit to you, there is clearly going to be a benefit to many others that are suffering with the disease or whatever that you are. So I would highly recommend, and I personally would be involved in any clinical trials in the future that I'm asked to participate in.